Awesome. So we have two questions today. Do you want to go for question
Perfect.
one?
Yeah, so let me ask you the first question. So this one comes from Angelique, and it relates to the current interest rate hike. So she says she's struggling a bit with the interest rate hikes that we have at the moment. And obviously there's a next hike, which is expected in January. She says her last notification came in advising another 1% hike. Her first question is, does the interest rate cap at any point? She says she's currently sitting on over 10% interest payments going up over 1,000 Rand since last year. And then she asks, is it possible to move a home loan to another institution and see whether there might be a great benefit doing so? Are there any other institutions that offer fixed rate home loans? Thanks for any assistance that we can give.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, the problem here is this isn't much of a legal question. It's more of a industry question. So I can give my insights. So this certainly isn't legal advice. It's just things that I've seen from experience and yeah, after conversations that I've had with people and their perceptions, their views and things like that. So over the last couple of months, we've been heavily involved with some of the economists. So I speak to some of the guys from ABSA, for example, and Investec on outlook and where they see interest rates going and what the what their action is, like what do they think is going to happen. I'm also working very closely with guys that either buy it, sales and execution as an example, or agents that are getting mandates from banks that are now basically banks approaching their clients saying, if you're going to have issues paying or you're falling into arrears, please do something about it now. Let us appoint an estate agent to try and sell this property for you. And like this, you don't have to carry the burden yourself. So I work with a lot of the auctioneers and a lot of the estate agents that are doing that, because it is a very similar environment to sell and execution. It's not necessarily totally voluntary. It's more of a grudge sale. And from all this experience, to answer the first question. So we look at interest rates and they keep going up and up and up. And what people keep asking me is, I'm okay with it. I just don't know how far up it's going to be. So how can you tell me to sell my property or hand it over when this could be it? Maybe there's no interest rate hikes and I'm okay. Versus, this going up all the way to 15%. What, obviously depending on how far up it goes, would cause a reaction for the person that actually has the loan in their name. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. There are a lot of forecasts. Apologies, I'm not 100% today. There are a lot of forecasts. And I mean, there's even a forecast that goes all the way up to 15%. I haven't seen anything past 15%, but that's certainly not advice. We've got no idea. So this could go up and it could continue going up. And if you are having difficulty now, there is a good chance that, it's probably like 12, 13%, somewhere around there. So you can really start doing future calculations and figuring out whether that is something you're going to be able to afford. But guys, remember, banks don't want you to default. And sometimes we wait too late for the matter to get handed over to attorneys. And unfortunately, when it's in the hands of the attorneys don't necessarily, they've got a job to do. So they don't necessarily engage the same way that the bank would. So it's not a bad idea to approach the bank right now and say, what can we do about this? Is there any way we can extend the loan period? Maybe you've been paying it for a couple of years already and your capital is quite low. So maybe there is a way that the bank is willing to extend the period again, given the fact that you've paid quite a bit. Alternatively, handing it over for a potential sale at market value. The sooner you do that, the better, because if you're trying to force a sale, you're going to get poor prices. If you're still able to afford it now, but you won't be able to afford it at the next level, it's not a bad idea to maybe start considering selling the property now or doing something else with it. I work with property investors all the time. And what we realize is property owners at the moment face situations like this, where they're under pressure to pay bonds, but it's a very linear idea of, I live, I pay bond, and now I can't afford to. Whereas sometimes you have properties that are able to be rented out, that are able to be subdivided and a portion sold. multi-lets. Maybe you're in an area where students are available, or a hospital that brings people from overseas. There's so many different opportunities that sometimes people don't think of because they're not in that mindset, because it's your home. I get that, but sometimes it's not even just about selling. It's about being creative and finding a different means to get a form of income there. So there are definitely options that the person has, but no, there is no cap. In the sense where, there's no ceiling that would prevent the interest rates from going beyond that. I mean, we were at a stage in South Africa where the interest rates were about 20%, like 20 years ago. So I think that kind of covers the question. Am I right?
Yeah. So the only other part that she added was, are there any institutions that offer fixed term home loans? I think obviously from our side, we don't know what every institution does and what structures they have for their particular investors. That's something you have to approach the particular institutions to find out from their side and what they can do in the circumstances.
Absolutely. So from an institutional perspective, you can move from institution to institution. Not all of them are big fans of doing this, but some will do this, and they might beat the interest rate. But remember, going terribly below prime is it wouldn't happen. So just be aware of that. But you might be able to extend your loan. So, for example, if you've paid 15 years on the one loan, you might be able to get a loan from another bank for 30 years, but that's that you need to discuss with the banks. Second thing is fixed interest rates. Unfortunately, it's too late now. Again, this is what I've picked up from the people from the banks, but it is too late now. You don't fix your interest rate when it's on the high. Because remember, they always add a margin on top of that. So you're probably going to be fixing it at a very high margin. So unless you foresee that it's going to go very, very high, even beyond 15%, it's very difficult. You only fix interest rates when they're on a low, because then you still pay a little bit more. But if you foresee the interest rate shooting up, that's when you want to fix it. And this is what everyone kept saying. If you wanted to fix it, you should have done it when it was the COVID period, and when the banks were still willing to try fix it at like a 10% or something along those lines. But now, you're not going to get anything favorable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.